Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. um Today it's gonna be like a live update video because if you've noticed that I have not uploaded video the last week, so this is the kind of opportunity I took to explain what happened and how I dealt with it. So I was hospitalized for 5 days, and one day I spent in the emergency room because they couldn't find a bed in the hospital for me, the psych hospital. And that psych hospital is next to the place where I go for my group therapy. So that was very helpful because they knew how the program was, and they have some staffs common between these two places. So it was nice to at least go into some hospital where they knew the people who I worked with before. So the situation that led to my hospitalization was again some sort of trauma response, I guess. So again, it was a very normal conversation that I was having with my husband. It was with regard to my health insurance. Since I left my job, now the health insurance situation is gonna be very different. But still, since I was in a university program, university postdoctoral program, they offer the continuation of the same coverage with through a different program called Cobra, and everything stays same, just that now you have to pay a lot more. Meaning, when you have a health insurance through university position employment, then what happens is university covers a big chunk of the premium, and then you pay the rest. So that is what was happening before, and now the university chunk won't be there, so it's just all me that I have to pay. And we were also trying to figure out, like, if it is better if I go with my husband's insurance, like as a dependent. So, but we needed to compare, like, which was gonna be a little more economical. The issue is I sort of did like a rough math in my head, and I figured out that, meaning, first of all, the money issue always makes me anxious. Overall, I had some idea. Okay, let's continue the same coverage that I have through Cobra for another 2 months maybe, because my husband's insurance coverage is very different. It's like you have to hit a certain deductible, then the insurance pays like 80% of the total cost. So before you hit the deductible, it's purely out of your pocket. In my coverage was different. It's mostly like copay based, small copay based. So anyway, and my husband was also trying to figure out the situation because he now handles most of our financial task, because I don't know, certain things like official work and all that, I get very impatient and I do mistakes. So now since he's very meticulous and organized with regard to that, so he handles that, and that's how it works best for both of us. And that's why he wanted to have a conversation. But the issue is the conversation felt very differently to me. For some reason I was having trauma response. I started to feel very controlled and um, like trapped and all that negative feelings. Very, very strong. Very, very strong. And it was also surprising, like I progressed so much. My therapist says that, my doctor says that I progressed a lot, like I was able to use my coping skills and all that stuff. I was doing a lot better in terms of managing these kind of situations, diffusing any big tension. Or so I couldn't even believe like that happened. My husband had also a lot of stress going on with regard to green card, and it's like the whole processing and paperwork. It's very intensive. I have talked about that before in my other videos. And also to get more insights about my trauma history, although I didn't share a lot, but at least I shared bits and pieces here and there in my first two videos. So if you have not watched them, I would link them here so that you can go and watch them to get a better context, because trauma is very contextual, like the responses that you get. Anyway, so what happened was, um, we started to have this discussion, and I was like very high energy that day, and I was feeling good, and I sort of knew what to do with the insurance. But he was doing like almost, I felt he was doing micro calculation. Probably he was not doing that, because I get this cognitive distortion as well. So sometimes it's hard for me to understand if it's like, am I overthinking, or it is really the situation. Like, you know, sometimes, I mean, everybody has issues, right? I'm not saying that he doesn't have any issues. Probably sometimes he, I know if something is actually more beneficial, but if you keep saying that, that feels more like a controlling behavior, and controlling behavior is also a form of aggression. I also got to learn through therapy, and I had no idea about that, because I always felt aggression is like yelling, slamming the door, and beating, and all kinds of like um, very high energy movement of the body. But it's not. It can be like speech, it can be indirect, but still can be pretty aggressive. um Anyway, so what happened, I was sitting right in this room, and he started talking about that. So first, the conversation started in the kitchen when I was preparing lunch for both of us, and when I felt like it's kind of going into a bad direction, so what I did was I tried to take a time out. And I also had a Zoom meeting with my PhD advisor, but it's not too much related to work. It's more like catching up and see where things are. So I was also excited about that, because I don't want to get too disconnected from the sort of research environment or the discussions and all that stuff, you know, although I'm not doing research at this moment. So I was looking forward to it. So I just took a time out, came here, and it was about time for that meeting. So what I did was I had a really nice meeting with my PhD advisor, and then, I mean, I was saying all the positive things, and he was so happy to see me positive. And I was mentioning how well I'm doing, how much I've progressed, all the things that I've learned, like the social skills. And I was also mentioning it to him, like all these things we should learn at school. You know, he was really happy, and I was also very proud, the way I've progressed and all that. And then everything went downhill. So we finished the conversation. My PhD advisor and I finished the conversation over Zoom, and then my husband came in, and he was not very happy that we left the discussion like that. Before I had this meeting with my PhD advisor, so um, he was he was so he came back, and he started talking about it, like, I am trying to figure out which one will be better, and he was trying to do some calculations based on that. And I started to feel like it was getting too much. I was getting overwhelmed very, 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 very quickly, and he also had a bit of stress, so he was not understanding how I was feeling. And I but as part of my coping skill, I did tell him, like, I'm not quite feeling well that way. And it was still a very innocuous conversation. I mean, every family has to have these conversations about their finance and several different things as a family, right? So I think we were just having that, but I didn't have a great reaction. So before I could say much, I think I tried to say something, but after that, I started dissociating, and it got worse and worse. Worse in the sense, so the way my dissociation looked that day was like I started blanking out, and my head wasn't, I felt like my head wasn't receiving any information and processing, and I felt an extreme amount of pain and trapped. It's all the thoughts of money and everything. It's not like we're still poor. Like, after that, I thought about it, and it was kind of stupid. I mean, my husband does have a very good job, but yeah, I mean, with regard to money, more is always better, right? Meaning I was earning, and then now I'm not earning, and everything just came together, and it became like such a huge thing for me. In that moment, I was blanking out, and I started to have intrusive thoughts. Maybe another day I can do another video about intrusive thoughts and types of intrusive thoughts. But anyway, so the intrusive thoughts feel so strong, and almost like shaming, to some extent, toward me. Of course, it's not like I was speaking to him. It was just, I wasn't doing anything. It's just all the thoughts and happening to me. So started to feel more and more pain, and then I started to cry, and that crying is not like normal cry that I get usually when I'm just sad. Not just that tears would roll down your cheeks and all that sort of stuff. It's like a loud cry, almost like everything is falling apart, or somebody has died, or it's strange. It's very strange. But through that, I almost feel like I'm getting my pain out. But it is so much, so far from the actual event, but that, I mean, that's why it's called trauma response. Or I don't know if I have any other underlying issue. We will come to that. There might be a possibility of bipolar, because a lot of the doctors that have seen me recently, they started to go there, and I was like, no, I don't get manic episodes, because I didn't have any idea how manic episodes looked like. So I think I'm gonna cover that part in another video, but I haven't gotten any diagnosis yet because they do need a good amount of time to observe and all that. But anyway, so what I did was um, I started to feel very paralyzed. I couldn't move my hand, couldn't talk, couldn't think, very much paralyzed. Just, yeah, I mean, at a point when I can't even move my hand, what I do all the time. I'm very expressive whenever I'm talking, and through my hands and body gestures and all that. And then I just go like very rigid, and nothing moves, nothing. It's just like I almost feel like I am blending to the wall or the furniture. And I wish like I stay that way, nobody sees me, because it's not pain, but it's just like things get more difficult when I have to deal with someone else's reaction at that moment, because it does freak people out. So it didn't go well, and I was not being able to get out of that dissociated state by myself. It was very hard, very hard. Like I for so long I was able to snap out of my dissociated state, so it was feeling more scary. I just couldn't, like I was doing all the things that I'm supposed to do that helps me, but wasn't helping at that moment. So finally I went to take a little bit of cold shower, because cold water or cold air can actually help um, to break the dissociated state. So that's what I tried to do. And I did that. I mainly tried to get some cold water on my head, because you know it was still cold. I took a shower in the morning. I was not feeling really up for a complete shower, but anyway, that did help after some time. And then I came in, and after it that during that period, it's like I go from very high energy to low energy. It's like um I'm wailing and crying so loud. It's and what happens also, my body starts to, before I feel paralyzed, my body starts to curl inside, and you know I almost like make a fist, and it goes inside very much, like, you know, feels like, why am I not falling apart and disintegrating? So very, very physical response I get there. And right after that I get like complete paralyzation kind of feeling, very, very strong feeling, like opposite in some sense. But anyway, so after I was fine, but I was still quiet, and I think I started to have depression after that, at least depressive episode. And I just went like very passive, as in, yeah, like blank. My brain wasn't processing a lot, and I just stayed that way, tried to do the things that I do, and I usually still can focus on creative stuff, I feel. But when something gets I don't know, it depends. Like sometimes I can handle those creative challenges, so I tried to do those crafty stuff. And also during those periods, it's the mindless things, for example, like knitting, embroidery. Like a large part is kind of mindless once you've figured out how you want to do it. I can do those things. So I tried to do as much as I could, and then I just slept. Um, because I tried to do that to avoid just feeling that way in that moment. Anyway, so the next day, I woke up. Overall, I even went to the gym and came back, did all the things that I had in my routine. Pretty much same every day, but very productive morning. I was feeling okay, not like happy, kind of still depressed, but I still had a good energy there. I went to the therapy. I was quiet the entire um, time, except for the fact when I had to do the check-in, like self check-in. You have to say how your mood was and what is your level of anxiety, depression, self-care, any risky situation, gratefulness, and usually there is a type of emotion or state of mind that would be written on the board. um yeah, and so follow uh, saying something about that if I've ever felt it or something. So that was about the check-in, and while I started doing the check-in, again I started dissociating. Almost the same kind of thing what I had in here, I started to have that over there. And again, very much like trauma response, like in that environment I didn't have any threat, but I just felt like that. Oh, another big thing was, since I've not been feeling like self-harming kind of mentality during these episodes these days, because of the therapy visits, like, you can't do that, you can't do that, even in that moment. It's like I was almost feeling like I was gonna run away. And I was still thinking about that. I was gonna run away to India. Um, to some extent, I was even thinking about that, how I'm gonna get my passport and all that. Also, before I left home, it was my husband was still pretty upset when he saw me. Like, I looked upset. I wasn't. I won't say. Sometimes I don't even understand my own depression, but I looked upset to him. But I did all the work. There is something called high functioning depression as well. It's not like you're in bed just lying down, no motivation. I heard that you could have, motivation for certain things and you're just working, but still could have depression. Like for other things, you could still be working and you could still feel like nothing really matters or that sort of stuff. So anyway, but my husband, when he asked me if I was upset, I felt very confronting. And not in the beginning though, I said, no, I'm not as upset as much, but I need a little bit of time to recover, I guess. But he was getting upset that I was upset. Sometimes his stress, due to his stress, he tries to fix things rather quickly. And I mean, everything has its own time scale. You can't speed up really, and it doesn't go really well when you're trying to do that. So that's how I felt. So I felt even more upset, angry, and all that stuff. So I went to therapy. Then during check-in, I had a breakdown again. Again, I was dissociating. I just couldn't get myself out of that. Everybody saw me, but the place feels so. I mean, everybody is pretty accepting, and I don't really care. I mean, at that point, I couldn't even think about other people at that moment. I was sick, but the therapist, and I have a friend there, she stayed the entire time with me, trying to distract me, to snap me out of dissociation. It was getting really, really hard. Nice thing was, my friend was wearing a poncho, some sort of woolen poncho, and it had a very soft texture. I was just holding that, felt like almost my cat Benny. I think that was giving me some sort of comfort. Then tried to drink water, and but still it was like in several episodes I was again curling up. uh, Muscles were extremely tensed, and pretty much the similar thing that I was having. And the doctor then said it's probably time for you to go to the hospital. First she did ask me if I had family or friends here to go to, but I didn't have any locally where I could go. So I had to go to a little bit far, like 4 or 5 hour drive. And she was like, I don't think I can let you drive in this situation. So I understood, but I was still like in that phase, like I'm gonna run away. And she asked me like, could you go home? And I was not feeling safe to come back home, not because, any other thing, just except for the fact that I'm gonna be sick like this again, because I already had 2 episodes, and I was like, so it's so painful, and I can't take it anymore. So I was not feeling very safe. I couldn't come back home. That's how strongly I felt. And the doctor said, do you think, I mean, the doctor was feeling strongly that I needed to go to the hospital, to the psych hospital, and stay there for some time. So ambulance came, and then I was taken to the emergency room first. And from ER, usually they try to do some initial assessment. During another psyche initial assessment, I had again this similar kind of reaction, and they're like, okay, I mean, they couldn't even finish the evaluation there, and I was given medication and started to feel better. And but very weak, I was very weak, couldn't move my hands again during that time. So then I had to stay the night there. um they give food and everything. I had to stay the night. My husband also came to visit me, and he was shaking. I was so nervous for him that, I mean, I was really concerned about him. How is he gonna cope? And but still, I he was still triggering me. He's like freaking out. He's like, I'm gonna take you to home. You're gonna be safe there. You're gonna be safe. It's like very much overwhelming again. And I tried to make him understand, it's not gonna go well if we do this. I need to take this break and go get well. I don't know why I have these reactions. They need to check me. Anyway, so the next day I got admitted to the psych hospital right next to the place where I go for my group therapy. So that was nice. They knew each other and all that. So that's sort of the story how I ended up in the hospital. I mean, although the doctor suggested, but they actually made it like a voluntary voluntary admission, because so that I could take the call when to discharge myself. I think that is kind of important in some situations. So that's what I did. But I was in that moment, I couldn't decide what to do. So I was like, doctor, you tell me, what do you think I should do? I would do that. I was like, totally, I'm submitting myself to you, and just You tell me what to do, what would be best for me, you decide. And she said, I think you should go to the hospital. And then I said, okay, I will go. So that's how I ended up there. And it was a very different experience there. I think I'm gonna stop here and tune in to hear more about the days in the hospital, how the facility was, the people, how the days looked like, and all that. So yeah, stay tuned. I hope to see you again. Thank you for listening, and if you wanna stay connected, please make sure you subscribe, share if someone is going through the same and can get benefits, or just for educational purposes, just to know how these kind of emotions feel to some people. Yeah, and I do have like lots of stories to tell about that experience. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy to share, because when I'm talking, I also process a lot of things. That helps me. So I hope to see you in our next video. Thank you, and bye bye.